Yeah. So I came to do this installment on coincidence. This is actually just going to be, I'm going to make this as quick as possible, but I have a lot to say about it. So um, basically, I wanted to give you an example of the way in which we can kind of look at coincidence and identify it for ourselves and for our children a lot faster. Also, to pose the question to you whether you believe in coincidence or not. Whether coincidence is something that you endorse or something that you prefer not to consider. That does not matter. It's completely up to you. I'm going to use, in this specific example, these fall on the floor, so I'll take them. This is the market and the magic mirror. So this is largely going to be reflecting back kind of the popular opinion on coincidence, and then also I'm going to kind of try to challenge your mindsets a little bit to think about how things may not be a coincidence or how things may actually play out in reality. So when we're thinking about shifts or changes that happen in our lives that are not visible and that we cannot touch, that are not tangible, oftentimes when we think about, oh, what a coincidence, I've seen the same person at the market for the past 5 times that I've been here. Okay, so you can make a couple assumptions in that case. The first assumption is that that person regularly shops at this market and you just happen to have been there at the same time vicinities, at the same time intervals as one another. Yeah, this is a wild card. So you can assume that it's a random accident, right? That's your first option. That's the first conclusion that we can come to. The other conclusion that we can come to is that either one or the other of you has intentionally been timing or making that specific interval a significant time frame for them to be at the marketplace so that they could run into you or increase the chances and probability. Yep, Simjaza. Well, this is my Simjaza card. This is Simbi, number 8, so air sign. If you were to think about this, it would be like emotionally tied up. This is the 8 of Swords, basically. So there's two basic. These are the two automatic assumptions that most people would make, right? That you're just randomly exist. This randomly took place, or that it was somebody was emotionally invested in doing whatever it is that is being done. Correct? Okay. Either coincidence or not. Kuwinky dink. Oh nah. Yeah. Santeria came out here. This is a kind of what I was trying to get to, and I'm glad that this came out right now, is that there's something about the belief in a higher power, about faith in things and events and people entering your life at certain times. For I think you probably heard this before, but a season, a reason, or forever, right? A season, a reason, or forever. And then that's kind of what this is the overriding plan that none of us really have this. That's the mystery behind life, is our experiences. We don't know what's coming next, and that's kind of the what keeps us intrigued with pursuing our journey as we go along, right? So this is that I'm just gonna say it, that like an X factor. This is that X factor that comes in, kind of flies in out of nowhere, and is more or less a combination of chaos and order. So you know how they say in a conversation, there's you, there's me, and then there's God. This would be the spiritual infusion of information into whatever situation that you're kind of going into. If you believe in a holographic existence, or perhaps something like a higher intelligent design, then this could be that blueprint imposing itself. So you see the blue right here? That's the blueprint making the cohesion between the two. So this is the meeting at the market. That is, oh my God, the X factor that literally takes place at the market and reflects back to you. One of these two experiences, and your perception of it is your choice. So you can choose to see it as a wild card meeting or as something that was pre-set, preordained, it was supposed to happen. It was it was causal versus just random, right? I think when we're talking about water, is it random that the water is frozen? Yes or no? Was it snowing outside? Did you put ice cubes in the refrigerator? What was the cause behind that? What was there planning that went into that? If the water is evaporated, did you leave it out all night? There was a little water in a cup and you left it out all night and then it's so dry outside that it evaporated. Did you boil it? What took the water from a fluid state to a vapor state? You understand what I'm trying to say? So these are the moments that we ask ourselves, like when accidents happen, if you overboil some water and it spills out, right? Then there's water all over the floor and you're trying to figure out what happened. That's when you go back and look at the causal and kind of the situational setup of whatever is being reflected back to you, whatever you're witnessing at that time. If I was to name the states of water by the names of, let's just pick biblical people, okay? Let's pick Joseph, Adam, and Michael, and then say that the shift change is the rainbow, or Noah's Ark, right? We could look at that in a way that says, although those names don't seem to have any individual specific resonance or meaning with each other, in relation to each other, they do. So although vapor, liquid, and cubes don't seem to have any, cubes of ice, don't seem to have any kind of relational relevance to one another. If you're a child and you're looking at this from without a physicist's trained eye, you don't see the correlation between the three. It's all the same thing. It's all the same experience. But once you read the entire book, the entire Bible, and you understand how Joseph and Mary are relevant, and how Adam and Eve are relevant, and how Michael and God are relevant, and how Noah and water are relevant, then you can understand this almost promise of connection between the three. So that being able to transform water, ice sculptures, when you can carve and sculpt ice sculptures for children, I know they do that at the zoo around here, at least around holiday time. Being able to show them dry ice, being able to, and that's not H2O, so it's that's why my card's flipped out like that. But I'm just trying to say, being able to show them the transference of energy and the way that heat and cold can actually change the state of an element like H2O, or a molecule like H2O, then it actually gives them the wherewithal. This is Madame La Lune, so the secret. That secret kind of holistic spiritual energy that lays in the background and kind of comes down to touch. I'm just seeing her touching. So, those two people come to the market to bump into one another, right? That is literally going to be that defining moment. Do they understand why a rainbow happens, when they're shattering ice and there's tiny little droplets of water flying through the air, when they're standing at the base of a waterfall and there's droplets of water coming off the fluid that's falling. Do they understand the way that, heat and all these things affect water molecules? That's literally the connection between things that makes it a coincidence or not. That causal and effect observation is what makes it a coincidence or not. This is the tower moment. Yeah. So being able to demonstrate or recognize a phase shift, a paradigm shift, a literal elemental alchemical alteration in time-space continuum is kind of what I see deja vu as, and what I see coincidence as well as kind of a wrinkle in time, if you will. As the famous Madeline, I think that's Madeline L'Engle, A Wrinkle in Time. Her whole series talks about tesseracts, talks about repeated patterns that then have a underlying, remember those cartoons that we used to have as children? They have repeating patterns, tessellations, I think they're called. But you had to kind of cross your eyes slowly to see the picture, and then it would pop out at you. But it was a repetitious photo that just kind of looked like maybe a weirdly pixelated chessboard or something like that. But when you slowly started to cross your eyes, you could see it pop out, right? That is literally the moment of coincidence, or that moment of deja vu, where your mind is remembering the outline image of a photo or a past pictogram that you recognized. The image pops out, and you're then able to see within what looks like a consistent pattern a very distinctive picture. So it's kind of the same as when they use a computer and encode information into the pixels of a photograph or a piece of data, an AVI, or some type of JPEG, it's this, your brain is a computer. It does have holographic memory. It does have, I think we've all seen those holographic images where you shift it slightly to one side or the other. The picture moves or does something unexpected. It's making me burp a lot. I'm largely just, it's because that's literally the brighter your own inner self is able to shine, the more you shine through the veil of the other side. It's like if you look into a mirror and you see your own reflection, it's like your reflection gets brighter from the other side. So it's almost like you can reach yourself through the mirror, and you're actually the only person you can reach. You have every right to voice your opinion, and it can be heard. But that's really the reaching and the touching of self is something that you have to yearn for. So if you think that every situation is very much a coincidence, and you don't see the correlation between Joseph, Adam, Michael, and Noah, if you're in the same room with all of them at the same time, that's not something that anyone else can really make a spiritual connection for you for. They could point it out to you. Hey, did you know all these people's names are from the Bible? And I'm telling you now, but for you to understand the power in that, to understand the promise allowed and afforded the understanding of your own mental or your own paradigm. See that man's hat? It's the knowledge. It's all of this spiritual knowledge that is held. I'm just seeing a man with dreadlocks that almost looks like, all of his dreadlocks are in one one bag. He's got his mask on and his hat. This is a literal piece of information that you have to contain for yourself. If you don't spiritually already notice the connection between those names, you may not also understand or notice the spiritual connection between other aspects of your life as well, like water. Maybe you didn't know that water, that ice, and that vapor are all H2O, that they're all a molecule. That's an additional piece of information that goes side by side with the alchemical information about heat signature. So whereas here we've got the state change, the state of water, the state of ice, and the state of vapor. So from mental to a mental state change. This is the heat. You see that lady right there with the snake? And then this is the portal. This is the heat change. So they go together. They go side by side. And right in the middle is where you're able to reach a compromise on the future outcome. I just always think these guys both look like they're either driving cars or are pilots or something. They've got their helmets on, that's all I know. And if this is the middle ground between these two, then you don't need, if you want to be fluid, or if you want to be fluent, almost I'm hearing, almost like this is a language, then it takes a ability to transmute from your mind to a state of being that is fluid, right? That is fluid. And that can then move through this portal and become a different state of being, a hotter one maybe. Perhaps this is there's the steam. I'm seeing the steam coming off. And this is the fluid. Okay? So when you're thinking about bringing together two subjects that seem totally irrelevant, oftentimes you can find a middle ground. I do have it on good authority. I believe, I don't know which example to give you. They just look it up on Google, but there is a really cool correlation between music and mathematical equations. They can actually write mathematical equations out as music and vice versa. I think they've also already used Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech to encode upon DNA. They use DNA as like the USB stick. So basically an empty set of DNA, they were able to encode the I Have a Dream speech onto it. Really cool examples. Two really cool examples of transmuting energy in a way that you would not have thought possible prior to considering coincidence, considering that DNA is actually part of us, encoded within inside us, and also the autonomous ability. Plants have DNA, and so do animals. DNA can have viruses. DNA can catch a cold like your computer. So I just told you how your brain is holographic. It is somewhat of a computer. It can look at a tessellation, a tesseract, a large piece of information and find the hidden pixelated or non-pixelated, it doesn't really matter, just information hidden beneath the surface about the ways in which to transmute look. So this is the key to being able to transmute that, is understanding that the promise behind it, the reason why it's happening, the impetus. This is the, you can do the potty dance, and there's plenty of bushes outside that you could run into and just go to the bathroom if you need to, if it gets that serious, right? But this is the key. This gives you the opportunity to come in the door and actually go sit on your throne. Okay? I know that's a bad example of transmuting water, but it was the only one that I could think of in this moment. Right. So you don't want to go in one place. You don't go outside. So you go inside. Okay? That's the transmutation of energy state. So state of being inside, state of being outside. Inside voices, outside voices. Water can be, transmuted to steam or solid. Vapor or solid. This is the state and the heat in this place. State and heat in this place, man. I don't know why I'm hearing I don't know if you guys have seen Cool Runnings, but it's a really good movie as well. It's about a Jamaican bobsledding team that goes to the Olympics. Yeah. And they kill it. So I just think it's cool as passing of the torch to the next generation of killers. I mean, not in a literal sense, but you know what I'm talking about. You're able to do some really cool stuff with transmutation of energy, life, death, and the mad dash in between. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so that's kind of the passion. That is what I'm saying is like you use the fire inside of yourself to heat up a big old drum full of water that then becomes the cauldron that you can mix together. You chop up some ingredients, right? Use the fire to put some candles on the table for yourself, and then you have your feast. Excuse me. Oh, I'm just hearing this is the process of cooking. So these are all of the stages of the cooking, are all the colors. I don't know why this is coming out. Colors right here. Yeah, somebody does not want me. Someone doesn't like my cooking. I don't care. So basically this is the end result. This is like I'm just saying that, oh my God. Excuse me. Just seeing this man looking at the directions in the book, like you know how ingredients are listed down an ingredient list? I'm seeing him collecting all the ingredients. Oh, my voice. Okay, I don't know why, but I'm hearing filling his coffers. This man is filling his coffers and his bag full of everything that he needs for his journey along the way. Maybe he's at the marketplace. Maybe this is at the marketplace and this is like him with all of his stuff in his bag. So he's got his lighter, his knife, and his ingredient list, his overall objective. And then he's going to go home and light the fire there, right? Golly, I don't know what the heck. Sorry. I'm going to switch decks. I think I'm about done with this one for now. Yeah. These kind of tidbits of information obviously I'm giving you a couple different examples so that you can understand, but I'm not trying to make light of the situation. It is no small deal to be able to recognize a spiritual path or calling or situation that you are put into. If you're able to be kind of a manifester in a way that is courageous and is bold, I think that's literally always going to yield you a lot more crops, yeah, than if you're unwilling to kind of put yourself out there, even though people might not want to hear what you have to say. Yeah. So you have to, I know this is kind of seems backwards, but let's talk about when you're thinking about something or when you're trying to have courage to do something, right? Sometimes it's really important to end whatever it is that you're thinking about, put this down, and just give yourself some space to clear your mind, to figure out, you know, what's going to naturally happen for you, what's going to come forward by itself. That's when we have those moments of coincidence where instead of us controlling the situation, we simply showed up at the market. We didn't actually try to plan anything. We didn't have intervals set up for ourselves or anyone else. And you naturally are able to catch the vibe or that spiritual download of information about where you need to be and when, how things play out is almost irrelevant because you will have safe travels. It's that third party interference, I guess, is what we would call it in tarot, or a lot of people probably do call it. It's not actually jealousy. This may be the eye of God or the eye of an evil, what you would consider evil, someone else would not consider evil. So this is just outside targeting, okay? If you're more worried about outside targeting than anything else, you're going to get caught here, you're going to get caught here, you're going to get caught here, you're going to get caught on each one of these prongs. It's going to feel like you got stabbed in the eye every single part of the trip, right? But if you can look at this more as a opportunity to meditate, to take that space and be strong enough to continue to focus and meditate on safe travels, excuse me, this is an upright, on safe travels, then as long as you're thinking to yourself positive thoughts and things that are, you see that positive sign, the plus sign, it's literally like positive thoughts, prayer, affirmations, etc., questions, comments, concerns, incantations, mantras, chants, whatever it is that gets you through their specific repetition of numbers or patterns. I don't know. All I'm trying to say is that coincidence is oftentimes not a coincidence. You're oftentimes being watched or being observed by somebody, some person, place, or thing that you're not aware of. And that's not something that's unique to a uniquely human experience when you ask a goldfish. But it is also something that we have the ability to obviously get up and change our reality. So if you're recognizing coincidences, then they can oftentimes be a sign that you're on the right track or that you're on a specific trajectory that is in line with your overall calling, what you've been meditating on. The butterfly. Okay, so this is the transformation of self, of situation, of information. That is, the whole purpose of the rainbow. Oh, gift came out. The whole purpose of the rainbow is to give us a gift, is to basically promise us. It was God's promise that He'll never cleanse us via water again. So in this specific incidence in the Bible, it was literally the whole earth, the face of the earth. In our specific unique situation, so for taking it from one state, the whole macro down to micro, that's a different state of being. Us to an ant, like we're giants to an ant, okay? Then we can look at the situation as in maybe somebody is promising that they're not going to ever hurt you emotionally like this again, or in a way that you're going to have to choose between heaven and hell. There is now grace that has been allowed and accepted and fully incorporated. Maybe it was God who was jealous of the First Testament because He couldn't save you from yourself. So the gift was that He'll never make you fight by yourself again. That's the promise, perhaps, of water, right? So once you understand that there's got to be more than two of something, then you understand H2O a lot better. You know, oxygen is paramount, even for fishes under the sea. They couldn't live without oxygen. We couldn't live without water. That's the cohesion between the two. But without that shift of understanding, there's really no understanding that we got to stand together. All of this came out. I'm just going to take it. That, you know, honestly, there cannot be a new cycle for the earth in general unless we take into account not only aquatic animals and life, but also terrestrial life and aerial life. Thunderbird, thank you for the reminder of aerial life. I'm just trying to say, if there's no love for any of these things, if we don't have love within ourselves for all of these aspects of our world and of our earth, then there's really no love for ourselves either. Because we were aquatic life. That's how we started out in the amniotic sac, right? Started off in the amniotic sac as a seed. We came out, finally, the secret was revealed, and it was you and your bare butt self as you were born from passion. That's where everything started, right? And so at that point, you take flight. First breath. Bottom of the deck right here is power. And the last part right here is passion. Or is fire, okay? When you're aquatic life, you don't really worry about fire too much. But if your species stops reproducing, it's a problem. You become extinct and endangered. Just like those species whose environments can be burnt down to the ground. So is that a coincidence? Not so much. It's a cohesion. This is the meeting point where the terrestrial life and the aquatic life come together and passionately need to have some type of contact with one another on the beaches or the shores of our minds so that we're not polluting their space and they're not being beached on ours. Same thing. It's their natural habitat. They can't really come out of the water. Most of them cannot come out of the water to join us on Earth, like on land masses. So I'm sure that if they had a voice, they would be a lot more passionate about the pollution that we've added to the ocean versus the pollution that the ocean has added to our lives. Yeah, we can't drink salt water. We can only drink, pure water, like fresh water. But that being the case, it doesn't mean it gives us the right to dump passion or dump those things that we either passionately love or passionately dislike, like trash, into the ocean. Those are the same waters that we came from. Those are the same waters that we grew inside of our own mothers. They drank water that came from this earth while we were inside of them. So if we're polluting the water that we've got on the earth, then we're really messing ourselves up more than anyone else. But also, the shores lose their power and ability to basically transmute love. That should be a place that we could go to see whales and dolphins and meet new breeds of fish and go snorkeling and scuba diving off the coast and all this good stuff. But I don't see why we would be welcome at the rate that we go. Yeah. Gift just fell out, and then safe travel is there on the bottom. I don't see why So the coincidence is to realize that there is a compromise and a transmutation of this energy. What we think is jealousy may just be a stare from deep in the water of somebody who's trying to figure out what exactly we're thinking. Why we think we're going to change anything. without the gift. We already promised not to cleanse or punish ourselves via water, but we seem to think that airborne and land-bound beings are the gift without any aquatic involvement here. That's the way we feel safe. Yes, this is where we get most of our wealth. Fracking and stuff that's second to oil companies. That's second to, fossil fuel, digging for fossil fuel constantly, drilling inside of whatever cavities of wealth that we've got, mining for information, ancient knowledge on ourselves. And at the end of the day, we're unearthing ourselves by doing that. We're causing death, not only within ourselves, because we're not able to naturally do that without looking at it as a coincidence or as unrelated bits of information that are just kind of Jeopardy-esque, just thrown out there, and we're supposed to put it together somehow. We're very content. This is not really coming across as gratitude. This is content with the message that with the message that we're sending here. So I think that's the point. Not a blessing. To look at things as connected does make it relevant and easier to then play dot to dot when thinking about patterns emerging. So when you're in the room with Joseph, Michael, Adam, and Noah, you can recognize this spiritual thread that links and connects and ties together all of those individuals and perhaps yourself. You can hope for something far better than just a mundane experience in a meeting. Maybe you'll hear echoes of the water changing in the meeting, the climate of the meeting shifting. When you're at the ice caps, in the Arctic ice caps, apparently you can hear them cracking and moving and shifting and melting a little bit. And then all of a sudden, one whole shelf just falls down off of the ice shelf and into the water, and it causes a wave. And then it's a chain reaction. Yeah. It's a chain reaction. Instead of you dying, if you can hear for the ice cracking and melting a little bit, then you can suddenly move and get out of the way of the shelf falling. You can observe it instead and be in awe of the wave that comes afterwards and the way that it ripples across the surface of the ocean. It's a new message. So I think that's maybe what I'm going to switch decks. Yeah, just felt like I needed to. I think that the animals are desperately trying to tell us that they would like our attention, and that very much in the same way that water shifts states of being, they can't really change their own tank. They can't change their own water in the ocean. So they, I don't know why this is coming through for the coincidence reading, but I think that's also, sometimes I think that's the way humans feel about our emotions. We get lost in the sea of emotion, of the shift change between those three. Trying to level up, trying to move from having muddled vision, or maybe really clear, bright vision, to a softer environment, a cleaner environment, a environment picked free of the, I'm just hearing the noise, the decibels turned up over here. Maybe there's finally the end of a song, or yeah, I guess that's what it is. It's like in a song, you go from the hook and the lyric, and you've got the chorus, and you've got I mean, you have to be able to rearrange those and move those all around in a way that makes sense to the beginning, the middle, and the end of a song, or beginning, middle, end of a song. If it's a hymn or an ode, it might be somewhat of a 911 of a. It could be a distress signal. It could be a rejoice signal. The relationship, whatever this is, whatever progression this is, those relationships and being able to play dot to dot from two incidences. So to hear Joseph and Noah and know that there's already going to be a specific outcome that includes a Michael, a Jesus, a Mary, who else? I mean, this is the adding of characters to this story. Are these the two characters that were here in those bright spots? Or was this the beginning and then there were four? Are these the exclamation points at the end of the sentence? Or are these the two eyes looking at us? Yourself and your other self being reflected peacefully without any feedback needing to be had. What appears to be a dark space actually appears to be the cohesion of the two, the reflection. So you know how if you're looking at a mirror head on, then you'll see yourself, right, in the mirror. But if you look at it from the side, you can't really see it at all. It almost disappears for a second. We're talking about a wrinkle in time, and the timeline is vertical. I'm seeing that once you reflect back to yourself and cancel out some of the karmic and coincidental informational feedback loops that may have been causing a lot of loud interference, it's like a mic that's too close to the original source. That's when you get the peace of mind. That's when things quiet down and you've got this silence that actually is the most serene. I'm just hearing fireflies. I don't know why I would be hearing fireflies because I don't think they make noise. But I'm just seeing that you can experience this, the breath, that first breath of life, or that awe-inspiring moment in this piece completely. So, relationship completion with yourself then results in a higher likelihood of you being able to see the magic in the world around you, or the positivity. Einstein said that obviously you can look at everything as if it's a miracle, or nothing as if it's a miracle, and it's your choice, really. So I just think it's basically what this is it's your choice. You can say yes, you can say no, or you can just live right in the middle, in that sweet spot of choosing to just enjoy the moment and not really decide one way or the other how you'd like to proceed. This rock just is. This rock is just going to be what it is. Whether it's hurtling through the universe, whether it's sitting on the front porch in part of the pebble architecture around the house, it is going to be what it is. It's independently existing. So I think that's that. Okay. Yeah, I think that literally that's basically what I was trying to say. I don't want to go on with this way too long, or I'm already at 45 minutes. Basically, I just think it's important to be able to take things from a high level to a low level. So I'm just saying 1, 2, 3. This is literally the progression. So you go from being who you are, born here, right? You come into the world. I don't think that's actually a really good saying, because twins do not come into the world alone. But you leave the world alone. So we'll go backwards, okay? You leave the world alone. But while you're in it, you have a pretty darn awesome reflection that you can look at in the mirror. You can appreciate that. Figure out how to quiet some of that self-doubt on the inside. And then manifest. I'm just seeing this as being almost a, you see that it's almost like skipping a rock into the future of the universe. And these are the ripples across the surface, that if you pull back and look at the whole big picture, it makes a tesseract. So which one of these is not like the other? I'm just seeing not like the other. So this is literally your punch card. This is your, if someone gave you a picture of your Akashic record, maybe this would be it, right? And your job is to move through it to your peace. That's the end. That's the end game. There is the independence. It's the freedom. So much as you move from your mother's uterus and that void, that space, that abyss, that womb, you also return to your tomb by progress. So you're born, you come up, and then you come back down those same steps that you went up. This is up, this is down. Which one you choose, or which one you end up being, that X, Y, man, woman, positive, negative, stop, go, whatever you choose to do, whatever you choose to be, you are going to have the opportunity to do that, to do just that, to collapse this experience not only vertically, but horizontally into this. It's a dichotomy, it's a crossroads, and it's a compromise with yourself about the yin and the yang and how you'd like to ripple. Okay, so on the bottom of the deck is Red Giant. It's inflation. I'm just largely seeing, the growing, how one cell, one egg splits. As soon as it gets fertilized, it splits into two cells within one egg, and then it continues to multiply, right, at an exponential rate that then becomes an actual child. When you think that something is nothing, that coincidence is nothing, right? Well, think about what you thought about your children before they came along. You didn't actually know they were in there until you had to go check and see at the doctor, or they started from something, yes, from passion, that inflation, that passionate inflation, that's where they started. But that being the case, they don't even come into your awareness because they are so minuscule for a very long time, until they've doubled, tripled their size. 3 trimesters later, they come out of nothing, and they grow and they grow, and then they come out. And in that way, we start the process all over again. They pop out as one baby, right? To 2 children, or to 2 parents, 2 pieces of input, 2 pieces of information from a man and a woman have come together to pop this baby out after 3 trimesters. That's a transmutation of energy, of matter, of light, of love. That's that magic wand. It's the rainbow of, you see how the colors are coming out here? Red, orange, red, orange, yellow, red, orange, yellow, green, Okay, this progresses. Life does this. Okay, Fibonacci sequence, same way that things unfold naturally a lot of times in nature, and we'll go into that a different day. But just think about that when thinking about coincidence. Sometimes things are not a coincidence. Sometimes this is naturally supposed to be occurring, and when you are able to see that pattern, you can also then somewhat control those areas that you'd like to expand within. 2 parents plus a baby equals 3 people. That's a family. And completion of relationships and independently. When you complete a relationship independently, you go get married, or you go start a friendship with somebody, or you go have a baby by yourself, or something like that. Okay, it's your personal goal of completion. It's the addition of a certain X factor, coincidence, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I'm gonna leave this here. 1 for the road, please. Excuse me, I had to add that one back in. 1 for the road, please. This one flew out all by itself. Message. Okay. The message is that without this, you see all 3? So 1, 2, 3. All 3 of those planes have to come together to kiss right in the middle, or to link up. Link up right there in the middle in order for you to have wealth. So that duplication, this is the duplication of that one cell. The one cell by itself has to duplicate. So do you see the 2 sides of the butterfly? So there's wealth here, there's wealth there. All you've got to do is get the message, and you'll be able to flip I'm seeing this as sands of time all of a sudden. Being able to flip the sands of time whichever way you'd like for them to go. So anyway, that's all for now. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.